lives are totally out of the roof, guys. I would say that we are top in this community, and we couldn't do it without you guys. The numbers are absolutely great, and it's going to make some big things happen, guys. It really is. So thank you all so very much for your support, guys. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, guys, and check and make sure you're still subscribed. A lot of people YouTube unsubscribed here lately, so make sure you're still a member. Also, members of YouTube, you have a video out. Go check it and let me know what you think. And you have another one coming out here really soon. Patreon members, you have a lot of releases in there. Go check it out. You got some pretty cool stuff that's available to you. Don't forget you have a video in there that was Patreon only, and you're fixing to have another one in there Patreon only. So go check it out, members, and we also appreciate your support. Let's get into this encounter. I live on Vancouver Island, a small island located in the Pacific Ocean, just off mainland Canada and just a stone's throw across the border of Washington State. My longtime girlfriend of the time was First Nations, having been raised on the far west coast of Vancouver Island here in British Columbia. We had decided to take a small vacation and spend a relaxing weekend in a small coastal town of Tofino, found in the far west coast of the island. I have many stories about working, living, and the strange encounters that I've experienced there, helping to fuel my natural curiosity towards the area. But this one has always been stuck with me. At the end of this vacation, we were headed back to our home on the eastern side. And while driving through Cathedral Grove, one of the old growth forests left on the island, my girlfriend suggested we stop into the major town of Port Alberni while passing through. She wanted to stop and see her uncle's family, who she hasn't seen in years since they had all moved from the coastal village inland. I agreed, and after another hour worth of driving in darkness, by 8 p.m., we found ourselves parked just outside of the humble home, just on the outskirts of a small port town. I had never met these relatives before, but on the trip here, my girlfriend had proceeded to give me the rundown on her uncle and aunt. After much conversation, it had come to my attention that her uncle was the blood hereditary chieftain of the tiny village in which she was raised in. We walked in the rustic kitchen, which would and could be entered from the back door of the house, as to see her Aunt Kathy quietly baking cookies for our arrival. She had already removed them from the oven, placed them onto a cooling rack, and began to introduce herself while ushering us to sit at the dinner table. After a brief introduction, we had come to discover that none of my girlfriend's cousins were home at the time, being away on basketball tournaments, leaving only her and her, I think he means aunt there, and uncle. After some time talking between the two, Kathy stood up and loaded a handful of cookies onto a small plate. With an inviting smile while placing the plate into the hands, she asked if I could take the plate of cookies down the hallway to the living room where Arthur was watching TV. The two women began discussing the local community powwow and turned their attention from me as it was my cue to exit. I clutched the circular plate of cookies and walked down the extended dark hallway that led to the large living room that could be entered from the home's front door. Nervously, I tightly gripped the plate of cookies and proceeded to casually enter the open living space. There in the far side of the room sat Uncle Arthur, very silent, watching the news on TV from his dark brown lounging chair. He possessed the strong features and tried eyes and hardened exterior, a man who had not only seen many things, but lived them as well. I come quietly into the living room, setting the plate of cookies onto the burl wood table that sat in between his lounger chair and the couch. I proceeded to introduce myself to him, and he asked if I would mind taking a seat at the end of the couch next to him, so we could speak. I agreed and sat on the couch seat directly next to a large lounger. He began to ask me many questions about myself, as well as to where I had just come from on our vacation to stop by his house. To which I had explained we had wanted to take a small vacation to the coast of the island for a while, to see the village where my girlfriend had grown up. We proceeded to have a wonderful discussion covering many topics associated with the small village where he had been chief for many years. insightful discussions about raising his kids, the local wildlife area, and much more. He seemed to relish the chance to share much of his small village's quiet history with me and the time in which the family had raised there. Time passed quickly in the environment until after a particular conversation we were having about the mountain trail which we hiked when we were at the village a few days prior. Arthur quickly became silent, and his look of enjoyment in the conversation changed into one of a almost silence, like the one he possessed when I had first walked in. I was completely puzzled by the quick 180-degree turn in his attitude, wondering if I had said something that had offended him. He then raised the television remote to the TV and switched it off. The sound of the crackling fire was the only sound left that could be heard as we sat in the darkness and in the silence. At this point, I was stumped as to what had occurred to cause the silent tension, as he leaned forward in his chair, then rubbed his strong chin. His eyes returned to mine, where he sternly asked me, "Did she take you up there to the forest trail, the one that goes to the Red Rock?" He was referring to the area close to the village along the river where the monstrous red stone boulder extended off the top of the cliff face, overlooking the flowing river that the children used to play on in the hot summer months. I thought through my memories, and I was correct that we had indeed hiked the exact trail through the heavy terrain up to the stone in question. Arthur shook his head in slow accepting motion as he let out a deep sigh, pausing for a moment and then leaned forward close to me. "Do you plan on going out there again?" he boldly asked me. I was unsure of how to answer. I wasn't sure of the context of the question or the tone in which the conversation had quickly flipped to. I proceeded to tell him that I indeed had planned on coming back to the similar vacation, as the surfing and the fishing are great at this part of the world, plus the nostalgia, along with my girlfriend returning to the village with her childhood memories, would make the trip worth it again. He took a moment of silence before beginning to speak once more. "The success out there is unseen, always watching, so be careful going out there and proceed with only love in your heart for Mother Nature. Respect the forest and its guardians, and you will be granted safety. Don't take this story lightly. They are out there watching everything, and if you are in its home, you are the same as any creature abiding to the laws of nature." Suddenly, a heavy knock frightened me as I quickly flipped my head to the doorway beside me to see my girlfriend and her auntie. "Arthur, are you bothering our guest?" Kathy asked with her arms crossed and a smile on her face as my girlfriend stood behind her, explaining it was time to get back to the road. Arthur answered no and flicked the TV back on with the remote. Standing up, I extended my hand out to shake goodbye, thanking my host for the time, food, and words. Arthur stood up, pulling me in for a huge hug and patting me on the back. He spoke into my ear, which will stay with me for as long as I live. He simply said, "Never forget, they are out there, always watching." I thanked my Aunt Kathy for the lovely visit to the couple's home, proceeded to say goodbye, and headed home. Since that day, I have met countless others within various tribal communities, which are located up and down the island through many events, all of which have their fair number of locals that have all shared many stories of the population of Sasquatch that call our island forest home. After many years with my now fiancée, I have seen, heard, and been part of countless Sasquatch experiences, adding my own voice to the many who have had the luck experience spirituality to come across one of these forest guardians. I will share some of those with you, Mike, if you're interested. A lot of the natives did call these forest guardians, and that's been passed down for a long time. I've heard that quite a few times myself. Sounds like you have some exciting stories to tell, and that was a very interesting story. I love it whenever people talk to elders and elders give advice, because him being a chief, he would he would know a lot of information, hear a lot of information, and know a lot of the old traditions. So he would be one of the best people that would know the area and what is in the area. Remember, guys, they watch and the watchers kind of goes together, don't it? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that's why they watch? It's in their blood. It comes from the watchers. Keep your head on a swivel, guys. Don't be something's dinner. And we'll see you on the next one. If you don't mind, smash that like button, guys. Share it out. I appreciate y'all so very, very much. Y'all have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next one.